Sometimes success is merely hanging on when others would let go. Not doing anything spectacular or out of the ordinary. Not leaping a mile or jumping over a mountain. But simply carrying on. Thomas Edison has a famous quote that's really stuck with me over the years. He says, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." Right? How close they were to the finish line when they turned their back and said it wasn't worth it. It's really an interesting thing to grasp. Right? Success is seeing what others can't. It's believing when others don't. It's taking the abstract, those visions, those pictures in your head, the make-believe, and finding the courage to make them real, bring them to life. It's this constantly evolving process, and it grows a little bit every single day. Sometimes we feel that progress, we feel the momentum, we do something big and it's exciting. And sometimes the progress feels small. And then there are times when we get knocked down and we don't see it at all. We feel like because we weren't validated that we lost, that we failed, that it wasn't enough. We forget that's part of the process, that progress is a journey. And it goes when you go, and it stops when you stop. Just like that famous Dalai Lama quote, right? The only way to fail is to quit. Period. No one ever stops because they can't. They stop because they decide to. They stop because they see that huge mountain and they think that's impossible. They forget it's only made of little rocks. They stop because they get so disheartened by the distance of the finish line that they forget it only takes a collection of little steps to get there. You don't have to leap the entire distance. You know, I've been there, right? This is me speaking from experience. It took me years to figure it out. And even now, life is rapidly evolving. I've poured my heart into things that, let's be honest, no one cared about. I've invested in opportunities that fell apart right in front of me. And each time it felt like the end of the world. You know, I've been lost. I've been unsure. Gotten up after things didn't go as planned and it felt like a loser. I had to look myself in the mirror and pick myself back up off the floor. But there's one thing that I kept doing that I never thought twice about. And that's continuing on. Whether life lifted me up or it beat me down, my plan for tomorrow was always the same. Get up and try again. Keep going. And as I sat down this morning with my pen and a piece of paper, I thought, what's the one thing I would want to be told if I started out again? What's the one thing that people need to hear most? And it's to simply keep going. Keep taking steps. Because one day the world will start to make sense. And you'll look around and you will be thankful for one thing. That when most would have stopped, you didn't. When the world said no, you said yes. There is nothing so powerful as a soul that refuses to back down. See, persistence is not an important thing or an essential thing. It's everything. So live as to see. Not what can be lost, but what will be gained. Find that light in darkness, even if it's a flicker, even if it's a spark. See, every loss makes you a little tougher, and every instant of sadness uncovers something beautiful. Every moment of fear teaches you to be a little braver. Every broken heart opens the door to a new connection. Instead of doubting yourself, feeling inadequate in life's darkest moments, know that you need what you are going through. You are uncovering the little victories hidden in plain view. So when the world feels like too much and your patience is thin, be stronger than that voice in your head begging you to think small. Stand on every experience, the good and the bad. Let it elevate you to a beautiful tomorrow. One of the most empowering things you can do in your life is simply stop pointing out and point in. It's to acknowledge you are the problem and the solution. One of my favorite stories is from Chris Rock. He talks about being broken down on the side of the road and how he sits there and people drive by and they look at him and they see his situation and they keep going. And it used to bother him, right? I need help. And these people are blatantly disregarding that. But what he found is when he got out and he got behind his car on the side of the road and he pushed, people helped. People pulled over. People wanted to be a part of it because people want to help those who help themselves. One of the best things you can give yourself in life is to take extreme ownership for everything around you, to understand that the manifestation of all your decision making has led you to your current situations. And the bad things are because of you, and the good things are because of you. You are the problem, and you are the solution. And the most common response is, yeah, but sometimes you get dealt a hand you can't control. You can't control your economic situation when you're born. Right? Some health situations in your life. The people around, there are things that they are not your fault. But I'll tell you what, they are your problem. And when you own them, when you say they are because of me, when you take extreme ownership, as Jocko would say, of everything around you, it puts you in a position to then change it. It places you in the driver's seat. You can get yourself out. If you want to empower yourself for the rest of your life, look yourself in the mirror and decide you will never be a victim. Period. Things aren't just the way they are. They're either accepted or they're not. And there's that stoic idea, accept the things you cannot change, right? And it will set you free. And again, to an extent, I agree with that. Bad things happen to you. There's outside circumstances you can't control. Don't worry about that. Don't sweat about that. But your lane, your situation, your life, we have so much more control there. And why would you not want control? Why would you not want to, like I said a couple days ago, be the captain of your own ship? Why would you not want to control your own destiny? And it's particularly relevant now in 2020, where everyone's default narrative is victimhood. People applaud when you're the victim. Okay, well, let's go get those who made this happen to you. Let's complain about the world because it created this situation, right? There's a quote, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. That is where we are right now. A lack of accountability across the board, right? From the little things all the way up. And I'm not saying that to bitch and moan or say how bad things are. We have it very good. What I'm saying is, life changes pretty drastically when, as Chris Rock would say, you get out and you push your car versus sitting in it, watching people drive by and pounding your fist on the steering wheel. You have so much more control over your life. Even when sometimes it's difficult to find a correlation between you and the problem. My whole life I've had debilitating headaches. Like terrible, terrible headaches. And there were days where I'd open my eyes and I'd have a migraine and I would know I'm not going to be able to function today. There's a 0% chance I'm staying in bed. And it would have been very easy. And in fact, my default was to feel bad for myself, right? Because it sucked and other people didn't have to go through that. But when I did the exercise of saying, no, dude, it's your fault you have this headache. It's your fault you're dealing with this. Even a health situation, it's your fault. Well, then I am the solution. And I started looking at what I was doing, right? Allergies, water intake, what I'm eating, exercise. How can I be healthier? And I've made some changes. And I still get them every once in a while, but it's substantially less. Or probably 4 years ago now, a good friend of mine and business partner at the time said, Eddie, with your amount of following on social, how is your income not 10x what it is? And I never thought about it. I'm like, well, I just like making things, right? But ultimately knew he had a point. And so I spent, a lot of time creating this product that was, the same things that people have been downloading millions of times, just more extensive. And I remember releasing it. And I'm like, this is it. This is gonna take me up a level. And as I'm sure you can imagine, right, the first time you do anything, there's just so much to learn. And I released it and 10 people bought it, right? Maybe 15. Total flop. My first instinct was to get angry. I feel bad for myself. How could I spend all this time? No one wants it. It's the same thing that all these people download. I didn't realize that it's about testing, right? And making changes. And I did, and a few evolutions later, it did very well. It was the beginning of something good. It was the gateway to everything that came after, but that doesn't happen if I sulk instead of analyze. And my point is not to create a sob story, but to remind you every situation has a binary choice. Accept it or change it. And whether you're thinking about it or it's buried away in your subconscious, you're making a decision. Are you empowering yourself? Or are you saying you're the victim? Are you pointing at the world or are you pointing straight back at your chest? Again, I'm not saying that everything that happens in life is your fault. I'm saying when you point to yourself and say, this situation is my problem and I can be the solution, it puts you in a position to not only get around those terrible things or the unfortunate things or undesirable situation, but transcend them. Become better. Not accept the things that you can control. Because what you'll find is when you're in the driver's seat, you do have more control than you think.